Hi, I'm Jeff, and this is the 2020 Clergy Compensation Instruction video. You know, every year Leanna Stuens, the Conference Benefit Officer, and myself as the Conference Treasurer, we work with the district superintendents to coordinate this whole process, because it's kind of complicated where the church is the one responsible for compensating the pastor, but then we administer most of the benefit programs, and we just want to make this as good a process as we can. So this video, I'm gonna go through the process real quick. I'm gonna also highlight any changes to the 2020 Clergy Compensation Worksheet, and then point you to the resources that are online. So first things first, in August, I think August 30th, we sent a hard copy of the Clergy Compensation Worksheet plus some instructions to every SPRC or PPRC. And it's really this committee that is responsible for putting together a recommendation on the pastor's compensation package. So they need to look at, factor in as much as they can about what is appropriate to compensate the pastor. At the same time, though, the SPRC and the trustees should do a walkthrough of the parsonage, and this will just save you a ton of problems if you make this a regular habit to go through the parsonage once a year and kind of make a list of stuff that needs to be addressed, or at least start making plans for it. It'll make your work easier and probably cheaper as a church. Plus, it'll probably make life better for your pastor. Your pastor and their spouse, if they're married, will be happier. During this whole process, make sure you keep the finance committee or whoever's putting together the budget up to date on what you're doing. They need to know what you're going to recommend so they can put it in the budget. So this recommendation goes to the administrative council or the leadership team or whatever you guys call it, but it's that group that makes the final decision. This team is best able to look at the whole big picture for a church, the finances, the different ministry needs, and they may need to adjust your recommendation. A lot of times they don't, but sometimes they do. And then this group is the one that makes the recommendation to the charge conference. And it's very important that a completed clergy compensation worksheet is brought with you to the charge conference. So then an important step is getting the information to us in the office. And you can, if you're not comfortable working with the computer, just mail us a hard copy of the completed clergy compensation worksheet, but I'll show you where you can go online to complete it and save yourself a stamp. This can be done, the soonest it can be done is after the administrative council approves the clergy compensation worksheet. The latest it can be done is probably the first week of December is when we really need everything in, because what we end up doing is we take the pastor's withholding information and we put that with this compensation information. We put together what's called the clergy compensation form. So there's the worksheet and the form. We probably should have thought of more creative names, but we didn't. But anyway, this form then we send to every church so that way they know how to compensate their pastor correctly. And if we do this all right, we end up with some happy pastors. It just feels good to know that you can trust your church and hopefully the conference to handle your compensation benefits correctly. So first of all, changes to the 2020 compensation form is I always do. This is almost exactly what the little slideshow was about, but this shows the process. But the district superintendents wanted to make sure that you knew that you need to bring your clergy compensation worksheet to the charge conference. Apparently not everybody has in the past, and so you need to do that. There's also a link here, and you can actually click on it and it'll bring you to the place where you need to submit the clergy compensation stuff online. Other changes include the minimum base salary always changes, so there's a formula that dictates that. And this year, if the bishop touched your head and you're ordained, it's $43,922 for a full-time or full connection pastor. For less than full connection, so if you're licensed or a provisional member, it's $41,895. And if you're half-time, then the minimum would be half of that, and so on. The open enrollment period is October 30th through November 14th, so that's a slight change from last year. That always adjusts by about a day or so. And then the next change is the HealthFlex direct bill went down slightly. It was $14,100 and some last year, or this year, 2019, 2020, it's going down a little. Pension direct bill is going up a little, so that's almost a wash. I also include this worksheet here if you want to do it by paper, but it's also online, and I'll show you that. I'm going to show Brandon Vedder's real quick so you can see this is what the hard copy as well as the email copy is going to be. And you know, you can see everything that's in from last year, which is usually helpful, as well as there's space to fill in everything from the next year. I filled in, if there was a HealthFlex direct bill, I filled that in already. You know, you feel free, if you're the pastor and receive this, that you can send this on to the SPRC or PPRC. You can also, if you want, use the comment thing right there, and that'll bring up this this toolbar, and then I can choose. I just chose that one, and now if I wanted to make any changes, so let's just say Brandon Vedder, let's just say I made a mistake on his name, or he wants to go by some different name, so he wants to go by Brandon Vedder. You know, you can go ahead and go ahead and do something like that. You can actually put the changes right here. You can also fill in the compensation information, so I'm just going to give Brandon a increase because he's awesome, and I can go ahead and fill all this in and then print this like that instead of doing a paper copy or anything like that. You can also use that other form, that blank form that I had before, but anyway, that's a good way to communicate any changes, as well as to put in your other information to go to the worksheet that's going to go to Charge Conference. And so then this link here goes to the form, and the form just asks for the same exact information that is on the worksheet, but that's how you do that. And then you just submit it. It's important that whoever you want to receive the questions about that information, that's why we ask for the name and the email. So whoever wants to be taking those questions, if there's a mistake or anything else, that's who we're going to contact. Also, then to find the forms, we go to Finance and Benefits, Finance Forms. We have a blank Clergy Compensation Worksheet right here, as well as the Clergy Compensation Instructions. There's a Housing Allowance Worksheet as well, and here's the Pension Direct Bill Calculator, which is nice. I mean, if you don't like to do some of that complicated math, it's easy to make a mistake here, so you can just punch in the salary, punch in any of their status stuff, you know, and if they live in a parsonage or not. If they don't live in a parsonage, it'll ask you if they have a housing allowance, and it'll do all the computation right for you. And then the other place to go, which is another good one, is under Forms, Resources, Forms, and then under Charge Conference. There's a bunch of these forms for accountable reimbursements, housing allowance, pastors reports, all these different ones, trustees reports, but that's where we keep all those. So hopefully this has been helpful to you, and good luck with this Charge Conference season and the Clergy Compensation.